Hey, in this video, I'm gonna be just talking about my relationship to depression and what it meant for me and kind of how I've been able to overcome a lot of it in my life. And, it's a thing I don't really talk about a crazy amount, and it's just like kind of an internal personal battle, but I figured what better way to resolve depression than talking about depression. Because now I feel like I'm a pretty happy just guy. And it's when I reflect back to the periods of my life where I was really going through it, it doesn't even feel like it was me, but certainly it was. So when I was really going through it, it was, I don't know, like 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and a bit before, where I was the type of person that, I mean, show up to like school with earbuds in my ears and just stare at the ground. And I remember there being a day where I never even spoke a single word, which maybe to you, that's a usual. And to others, that could be an extreme form, but regardless, they're all just, resemblance of this depression, of just sadness. You just don't feel good. You don't feel like you want to do anything. It's super low energy. You have no drive, no will. Because why? You know? And I'm sorry if you're going through something like this. I do believe in you, and I know that there is like hope in your future. 100%. It's a Matthew guarantee. Because I've been down in the trenches and I've somehow made my way out through the years, and I do believe that you can too. Um, Honestly, being so far down, I didn't realize this, but now I think from a higher perspective, my understanding of depression has kind of evolved. Before, I always thought about depression just as a single term. It's depression. But honestly, I've kind of learned to see two different characterizations of depression. On one hand, I kind of call it a lifestyle depression, and the other is systemic depression. So, lifestyle depression could be depression that you experience because of your lifestyle choices, or as a consequence of your lifestyle choices. And maybe they're like unconscious choices of lifestyle. It could be. It could be the food that you're eating. You're just eating it because it's how you eat. It could be your poor sleeping habits because it's how you sleep. You might be not even cognizant of the actual immediate effects of your lifestyle. Maybe you don't necessarily work out that much. You don't get your heart rate moving. And when you're in that lifestyle, you don't necessarily see how, when you don't do these things, the effects, on you, because it's kind of just how you're living. You're in it. But as someone that has kind of then started to do some of these things, I can certainly tell you that so much of my depression, in fact, 80%, I would say, I was reflecting on this earlier, 80% of all my personal depression came from my lifestyle. And I do probably have like about 20% systemic depression. Now, if you're someone listening to this video, well, I should say systemic depression is the type of depression that is not resolved through lifestyle changes. This is the type of depression where your brain is just set up in a way to just feel sad, to feel low energy, to just the only resolution is like some sort of, you know, like medication or whatever. But in my case, 20% of me, I would say, is systemic depression. That is a percentage that I can live with. I've grown with all my habits and everything. I can cope with a little bit of depressive episodes here and there. But if you have like a lot of it, systemic depression, that's tough. But when you're deep into depression, it's so challenging to even know if you have like lifestyle depression or systemic depression. Like, what is this even mean? Because to you, when you're depressed, all you feel is depression, to be frank, and it sucks. Like, that is just how you feel. Like, there's no easy other way to say it. It feels like depression. But I think in order to kind of start to see what type of depression you have, it is important to at least try to figure out if it's lifestyle depression that you have, And in order to do that, you will somehow have to make some changes to your life. There's no other way. Because, to be frank, another realization I've had as I was kind of coming out of some depression, and even in it, I think that really is the reason why I kind of helped claw out, is it's kind of not good, but also like empowering in a way. It depends upon how you frame it, but like no one can actually really help you, and you truly kind of have to help yourself. You can talk to people. I think talking to people is phenomenal. It is. That people can really help you process your emotions, and I think that it's very a valuable tool. But when you're trying to come out of your lifestyle depression a little bit, in my experience, all the decisions and the changes that I've made in my life came down to me. It's whether if I wanted to make the change. People in your life cannot actually live your life for you. They can help and like give you support and etc. And it's important to talk. But when it comes down to like ground zero, like where you are at, that there does need to be some heavy lifting from yourself as well. And that was a major realization that I had to undergo. And, I feel like when you're depressed, you think of this future of happiness or whatever. You're like, what does that even mean? And you think that maybe you have to make these huge changes to your life that just feel insurmountable. Like, it's almost like someone that's new to running has to go run a marathon tomorrow. No, that's like impossible. And this is what kind of these changes feel like, when a depressed person now has to go work out, let's say. That is an insane leap. To go from like nothing to build up to this like insane new like activity. There's a lot of like just, it's a huge energy commitment. Like, that's just not happening, It depends upon how depressed you are. Like if you're trying to just jump up to do working out right away, it's not that easy. But working out, oh my goodness, it's so good for you. So then how do you work out? Well, you just have to start as simple as you possibly can. When people say to work out, they don't even necessarily mean like lifting weights or whatever. All you need to do is just move. Just move. Go for a walk. I think a walk is the most simple workout that you can do. Go for one walk outside. You don't even have to, depending upon how depressed you are. Again, if you're super depressed, see if you can muster up the courage to go for one walk a week, And then maybe when you do that, suddenly you can go for one walk every couple days, and then one walk every week, or not every week, every day, and then one, suddenly you're not just walking, but you're kind of, or you're walking, but now you're walking further. You're walking to new locations in your neighborhood. You're exploring a little bit. And I know it sounds hard, but suddenly, me as an example, I go walking more, start to feel a little bit better somehow. Suddenly the idea of, maybe I can like run starts to become more appealing. Or maybe I can go like to the gym, lift weights. You start to get curious about these things, The moment that you start to feel a little bit better, the run doesn't feel as daunting anymore. The walk doesn't feel as daunting anymore. But the idea is you have to start somewhere. And I encourage you, when you're making these changes, to start very, very small. Another major lifestyle change you can potentially toy with is just the idea of eating healthier. But, we hear eating healthier all the time. And I feel like it's like, yeah, we should eat healthier. Cool. But I would encourage you just to like think of it like a little scientific experiment, Just see what happens if suddenly you stop. For me, this was like I stopped drinking soda. Before I made any other changes to my diet, I ate the same food, I ate the same everything. The only change I made that's kind of kickstarted everything was I just stopped drinking soda. Or pop, whatever, soda pop. I just stopped drinking carbonated drinks. My drink of choice, I just decided, became water. And I've stuck with water to this day. I basically only drink water. Yeah, I ended up going to that extreme eventually. But, before I would drink water and maybe juice and all these other drinks. But the biggest change I made was just cutting out soda. So you have to think about it in your diet, What things can I change that's like the easiest thing to change? For some people, soda is like they need it, But like there gotta be something in your diet that can give. Maybe it's I don't know. You gotta brainstorm a little bit. Possibly it could just be eating like a bit less takeout. Maybe you're someone, because you're depressed, you don't want to cook, you just want to eat food from restaurants. Maybe instead of choosing this restaurant that is quite unhealthy for you, maybe it's like McDonald's, you're just eating a bunch of burgers and stuff, Maybe try to go to a different restaurant that can offer a bit of a healthier choice. Or maybe it's even like getting a bit healthier of an option instead of I don't even know if this is true, but instead of like the Big Mac crazy burger, get like a chicken burger. Like I would imagine the chicken is healthier than the beef. I don't know. But I guess it's leaner. Um, but like it's just like these little subtle changes. What can you do to your routine and just tweak it ever so slightly to start this step towards a slightly healthier tomorrow? That's all you need. That's all you need to do. Because suddenly, when you start to feel a little bit, I don't know, like healthier, like it is proven, like, when you move a little bit, something changes in your brain, but it doesn't feel like it would, but it does. So you just have to kind of run this experiment. Move a little bit, see what happens. Make a little bit of change to your diet, see what happens. Because then suddenly when you start to feel better, presumably, if you have like lifestyle depression, the next set of changes will eventually be easier because time is your best friend. Time is your best friend, but it's only your best friend when you are making microscopic changes to your routine. If you're not making any changes to your life, time is not your best friend. In fact, when you're depressed and you're not doing anything to kind of get you out of your funk a little bit, time could actually make you a lot more depressed. Because when you're depressed, it's easier to make even more depressive changes. So I would encourage you, just like make slightly, just, get it above the 50. Like in my brain, I'm thinking like make in your life, you make a lot of decisions. Just make 51% of them a little bit better, like a bit more than half of them. Make just a bit wiser of a decision, because I believe in you. Like, what's good for you. You just have to kind of choose what's good for you and then see how it becomes good for you. And, you don't need to change overnight. I think it's impossible to change overnight, but you can make like incremental baby step changes and just, see where that takes you. For me, I made the changes to kind of go for walks, and then I think it took like a year or so until I got courage to even go for my like first run. And then I started running more, and then I was getting more confident, and then I had confidence to go to the gym, then I had confidence to like keep running more, and then I had confidence to try to do a half marathon. Now I have confidence to try to do a marathon, marathon, but I could never have dreamt of doing a marathon when I was so depressed. To me, if I had a marathon on my target, I probably wouldn't even start, because why the heck would I even care about a marathon when I can't even like go for a walk? But if you're able to make those little changes and you go for a walk, and then you can see that the next one is possible, and suddenly a marathon is now on the menu. And suddenly, where did my depression even go? Because my lifestyle has now changed. I'm eating healthier. Maybe I'm even caring a little bit more about my sleep habits, like going to bed at a bit more of a reasonable hour than usual, like half an hour earlier type stuff. Maybe I've been putting things back where they need to be right after I use them. So suddenly taking care of my space is a bit easier. I'm decluttering a little bit. Suddenly you wake up one day and you're like, where did my lifestyle depression go? And maybe you still felt depressed after you make some of these changes. And it could just be that you need more time making changes and wait for your brain chemistry to rewire, because frankly, I think that's what happens. I don't think I nearly have the same brain as I did many years ago when I was depressed. Like, I can feel it literally rewired itself through these like lifestyle changes. It's bizarre. But then there's the systemic, it could be a systemic depression that you're battling with. And for that, it's certainly wise to continue to talk to your friends and family and, try to reach out and get the help that you need, because you should never suffer alone. Suffering alone is pretty depressing. If you suffer alone, I feel like it's like a feedback loop, But yeah, it's a bit different of a video. I certainly will have like so many more thoughts on this, and I'll probably make another video. But it's getting a bit long, like it's 21 minutes. But these are kind of my changes, my thoughts, It's about there's this category of depression, I believe. It's depression that comes from lifestyle depression that's just systemic to your just brain chemistry. And you can actually help your lifestyle depression by making a little bit better lifestyle decisions. Sounds obvious now, but will you actually do that? And to do that, it doesn't mean you have to make drastic changes. Just make these like little incremental changes. Eat a little bit better, go to bed a little bit earlier. I have so much confidence in you that you actually know what to do to be like healthy, or a bit healthier, but you're just actively kind of resisting that. But I need you to just try and like resist the temptation to like, fall into your past patterns. Because if you are able to, I never like articulate this well, because if you're able to not fall in your past patterns, what does that mean for your brain? It now means that there's some novelty in your life. You're doing something different. And when you're doing something different, then there's room for like new thoughts and rewiring to happen. And frankly, when you're eating better, you feel better. When you're sleeping better, you feel better. When you're working out, you feel better. When you do all these like things, you just feel better. And yeah, I think to me that's kind of sums up some conversation I wanted to have on depression today. It's a near and dear subject to me, and I just wish you all the best. I believe that you can, make some positive changes in your life and get through whatever it is that you feel like you need to get through. I know it's not easy, but it never was supposed to be easy. If it was easy, then, it just wouldn't feel good when you accomplish anything. You need the contrast. Because, with how depressed you feel right now, there is a world out there where you kind of like flip it and you just feel so damn good. And I know it feels unbelievable that you can even get there. But that world does exist. But you just need to start with the little baby steps towards it. I'm Matthew. and I am going to bed. Peace.